Hello, everyone. This is your host, Manoj Tandon. Welcome to another episode of Dark Rhino Security Confidential. Today, we are honored to welcome back an alum of this show, Mr. Peter Warmka. Peter was on earlier. If you don't remember his intro, I'll brief you in a little bit here. He is a keynote speaker. You can find him online. He is author of multiple books, and he's going to talk about one of them today. He's an cybersecurity insider threat consultant. And you know what? He was a former real-life CIA agent who was specialized in human intelligence. So we're honored to have you back, Peter. Thank you for being here.
Well, Manoj, thank you so much for inviting me back. This is we have a great time.
Yeah, we do. Maybe that shouldn't be allowed. I don't know. Everybody wants a very cybersecurity. That's a serious conversation. But, and it is, but it's good to take it a little bit, laugh at yourself a little bit and take it for what it is. So,
well, one thing that's interesting about the industry is that it's constantly evolving. You have to really keep up with what's going on because things are always evolving. And, if you step away maybe for a month or two, you come back, wow, where did that come from? I never heard of that. And that's been out there already. So it's really important, I think, for individuals at all levels, whether you're, a CISO in a company or even someone that's retired and sitting at home and thinking, well, why do I need to learn anything about this? I mean, anybody that uses the telephone and uses a computer needs to understand the things that we talk about.
Very true. And your point about rapid changes is very apropos. When did ChatGPT come out?
It was worked on a long time, but it came out in November of 2022.
Right. And now we have generative AI and we have the wonderful world of all kinds of fraudulent possibilities that exist out of that.
Oh man,
I'm kind of starting to pick up a little bit from where we last left off there, Peter.
Because there's been a lot of developments. I think the last time I spoke at length with you about social engineering and how the methodology that's utilized by various threat actors, criminal groups, industrial competitors, and intelligence services, active, etc., and how they use that to basically penetrate a company by manipulating humans that are insiders in those companies. So we talked at length about that. But what I'm seeing now, starting with ChatGPT and other aspects of artificial intelligence, how it is really up the game. Like I think I explained to you the process of obtaining initial information. If you're targeting somebody or an organization, you're going to try to collect as much information in advance as possible. So I went through some of the there's a lot of different places where we can pull together. It's time consuming. Pull together this information. But now with ChatGPT, it's a tool that can rapidly increase the ability to pull together information, pull more information together, and make it much more efficient. Even though if you go on ChatGPT, they're going to say they have their own parameters. They're not going to allow you to do deep searches on individuals unless they're maybe politicians or actors, people of notoriety, right? Where you can pull a lot of information. But the regular individual like you and me, it's not going to be pulling up all these things that it can, aggregate all this information on the internet to give it out as a product. That is because it hasn't been programmed to do so. However, the same technology in the hands of an adversary, of a threat actor, can pull all that up. And it's going to be an incredible tool that's going to enhance the amount of information that individuals are going to be pulling up when they want to target an individual or an individual person or an individual company. So that's the first aspect. Think about, you've also heard, wow, this is great to use this tool because it can write better than me. Right? It can write very good, clear, what do you call prose, and especially for individuals. We talked before about how fraudsters how they can formulate fake profiles on LinkedIn and other platforms. And a lot of these people are ones that maybe are from overseas, or English is not their mother tongue. And so you might come across profiles that are a little bit awkward in their wording. There might be grammatical errors, and they might be in some cases either very weak with not much substance, or otherwise they've been copy and paste from somebody else's profile. However, with ChatGPT, they can create very robust and logical narratives of their profile and use that, whether it's putting it into a LinkedIn profile to make it stronger, or they can use that better written prose when they're sending emails out, whether it's a attempted phishing attack, or whether it's a BEC that they're using trying to impersonate being the boss and writing the email communication to an underling for making a wire transfer. So these are all tools that really, they're force multipliers in trying to do the same things that I've been talking about regarding social engineering, but it's lowering the barrier to getting in and doing these things, and it's also increasing the quality of the fraud.
Are you aware of a evil Chat GPT version, for lack of a better term?
I haven't seen it. I heard of one. Yes. I mean, These things, they definitely are out there. I mean, they don't have you can have a patent on your particular product, but you don't have a patent on this type of technology. It gets into the hands of anybody basically that wants it, desires it. So it's not only the good people that want to use it for nefarious intent can use the same technology, whether it's creating, whether it's using ChatGPT to create narratives, or using programs such as DALL-E and others, where you can create images from text. I mean, that's all also in the hands and being utilized by individuals who want to manipulate people.
Wow. So, one of the things that with generative AI that occurred to me was like things like CAPTCHAs. It might be possible to defeat those with generative AI.
That's a good point. So, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Right. So the security features that we inherently rely on might have to be re-examined here. With the advent of what's happening, and with generative AI also, if I can mimic your voice and I can mimic your facial characteristics, that might present a lot of issues.
Yeah, I mean, think about when biometrics came out. That was like, whoa, this is the most safe thing that's going to protect all of us, right? Because everybody is a one-of-a-kind fingerprint, one-of-a-kind voice, one-of-a-kind. I mean, now with this technology, almost all of them can be circumvented. I mean, so for identity theft, I mean, it's allowing these individuals to take on the identity of individuals when they try to log in, maybe logging into their bank account or logging into their employer's IT network. This is a big problem. We really have to go into multi-factor authentication more now than ever. I mean, this is crucial. That is one of the things that we'll definitely have to do. I mean, there's a lot of other issues too. Look, what about evidence? What's going to happen in the court when evidence is produced? How are they going to be able to verify that evidence hasn't been defaked? I mean, so this is going to be a problem. Already a big problem for the insurance industry. Look, before COVID, a lot of insurance companies had their adjusters, individuals that would go out to see the damage. They would physically see it and write their reports. Then with COVID, a lot of it turned into, well, we can't send these people out anymore. Let's start using an app, where individuals can take their own pictures or video and then upload it. But now there's a problem with how easy it is to defake these, and how the fraud in the case of insurance claims can become astronomical because of this sort of tool.
Thought of that. No, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it really is scary. Think about some of the other applications.
I can fake a death. That's what I'm thinking. Like, if I want to cash in on a life insurance policy, I mean, hell, just scam the whole thing. I hate saying that too, because how people get ideas. It's like, damn, that's a good one.
Well, look at these virtual kidnappings. I mean, you've heard of. I mean, I've seen these kind of things going on for a long time. I lived in Latin America, and those were going on well before they started here. Somebody will call up, the spouse and say that this individual is kidnapped or a child, and it gets you all, they play upon your emotions, but you're just going by what they say. And many times it's still enough. They can get you to go out and get money by calling cards and give them the PIN number. I mean, they were running these things out of the prisons in Brazil. The criminal
Really?
groups were inside the prisons. Yeah, but now think about it, because you did mention earlier about the voice. This is a huge advance in the use of social engineering phishing to successfully manipulate people, because this is even more important. I mean, with deepfakes, we can fake photographs, images, we can fake videos, but videos still take some time to do. It might take used to take weeks or months. Now it's down to days or hours, but it's not instantaneous. Voice is instantaneous. So when someone receives a telephone call, they hear the voice of the person that they recognize that voice. For them, that's enough. They believe that's really the person. So there's corporations that are having this problem, as well as individuals. In the case of corporations, you get someone, gets an incoming call. There's a caller ID number that's been spoofed. They hear, maybe it's coming from their boss, supposedly. Then they hear the voice of the boss, who is going to argue with that individual. Not they're the boss, right?
Right.
They're minds. But this is all being done through the cloning the audio, and it's instantaneous. Same way that individuals can be called. There's been a lot of grandparent scams where they get called and the person's imitating the voice of the grandchild who's in distress. Maybe he's been, it's being arrested or kidnapped or whatever. So, I mean, these are things now that affect a lot more people than just a handful, maybe, that we're concerned about this in security world, right?
And our social security numbers, I don't know why the federal government has not caught up on this, but that there has to be a way to change that if it's been compromised.
The actual number. I think there is a process, but it's very difficult, and not many people are able to do it. But I think there is a process for changing one's social security number. But now, and still, this upsets me. It upsets me how readily people give their social security number out. Like, even when you go to the doctor and you fill out those forms, whether it's the first time or the annual or review of your records, they're asking for your social security, and I don't put it there. I just say, why are you asking for this? I'm not providing this number, but we've been giving it out. We've given it out to everybody, it seems. And it's almost like also our phone number, our cell number has become almost our ID number, because most people keep that same telephone number forever. Most people keep their same email addresses forever too. I mean, so once a fraudster gets their hands on some of these critical components, it's like they got you. They really got you.
They absolutely do. And there was a case that was just recently settled. It was a $20 million ripoff that happened. And it went down with SIM swapping. And for those who don't know about it, essentially SIM swapping is where you can assume the SIM of another person who's the target of the fraud that one is committing. So what that case settled was the individual who was deprived of their monies sued the telecom carrier that they are at fault for allowing the transfer of my SIM to somebody else when they didn't do the necessary verifications that needed to be done. And what the court actually ruled in the favor of the telecom company. And they're off the hook as far as SIM swapping goes. So now you can go and pay off a employee, and it's not going to cost you that much to do it, who works at one of these telecom carriers, and you can say, well, I want this guy's SIM. And there goes MFA. Bye-bye. Now you need another... you need a more reliable second factor. That's not your phone.
Yeah, that's a shame because I mean that's been one of the biggest uses of I mean for multi-factor was going to incorporate the telephone to do that, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the case offhand. I just read it recently, but I will search it we'll try and include it in the show notes because
Okay, good.
I think that was kind of like a big deal because if you're AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, and your operator or whoever your employees are decide, oh yeah, this sounds like Peter. Peter's requesting that this SIM be moved to another device, and with eSIMs, this is even much more easier to do. At
Hmm.
least with a physical SIM, you had to go into the store or somebody had to mail it to you. There was some kind of a trace. But with
Right.
eSIMs, there's nothing. It's just a logical sim that someone punches in on a keyboard somewhere in a dark room, and it instantly changes the IMEI code it's associated with. And there you go.
Well, I can top you on the amount of damages. You said what 20? What is
20
that? 20,
million.
20 million.
The guy
This
got
is
scanned for $20 million. They
this
took it.
is
He didn't even send it. They assumed his identity and willfully transferred those monies.
wow. Well, there was a case in 2020. Are you familiar with this case? I mean, it's been out mentioned a few times. The use of voice cloning. There was a bank manager in Hong Kong who took care of a lot of high net worth clients from the
Okay.
UAE and from everywhere. He received a phone call from who he believed was his client in the UAE. The caller ID number, which was spoofed, but it showed the number of his client. And then he heard the voice. It was the voice. He was convinced it was the voice of the client who requested $35 million in wire transfers to handle various acquisitions. Now, this
Wow.
amount of money and acquisitions was not necessarily a weird thing because they would do it. But to further substantiate the scam, they created some email traffic between the client and the client's attorney, showing this money was going to be used for this acquisition and that. So the bank manager sent the 35 million out, and then when the client found out, within hours or days, they launched an investigation by the UAE authorities. And once that money is gone, it's gone. Good luck if you can even track part of it. They found at least $400,000 in a Centennium Bank in the United States. I presume they probably got that back, but that's only a little bit out of
Wow.
$35 million. So this is sort of sometimes people
Wow.
refer to this as a BEC scam, but it's not quite, because BEC stands for Business Email
Email
Compromise.
compromise.
So
Yeah.
think of this now, instead of being an email, it is a voice I mean, it's a telephone call with the voice of being scammed. So it's almost like a business telephone compromise, or what I mean. But it's kind of the same concept. But these are really, really, really beginning to take off.
Oh,
A
and
lot of them.
there's one thing that comes to mind. I'm not going to mention it on the air because I don't want to be the one that let the cat out of the bag in terms of how to use this. But that voice compromise is a real problematic thing, and we need to go to we there just like you can lock your credit, Peter. I think there should be a way to lock your identity that says I know it's hugely inconvenient, but there must be physical verification of some kind on a large sum. So maybe you have the ability to lock your identity on funds larger than X number, and you get to pick that X number. But otherwise, just like you talked about right now, millions and millions of dollars are at risk,
They
and it'll be
are.
very, very hard to hold the people who make the mistake even accountable. Because how do you know? I don't know who's on the other end of that line. To me, it seems like a legit number. It's your phone number. It's coming from that, and the fact that I can SIM swap now without huge implications.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I just don't know if we can. I mean, it's an interesting concept, right? I lock down the identity. I think it's going to be very difficult, but there are some things. There are some things that I think are in the works. First of all, from a standpoint of a bank or a company, is sort of having in place some best practices. The first is going to be training of all their employees from, and the training can be, I mean, it probably shouldn't be just the same training for everybody. I mean, there's got to be at the lowest level training for everybody, but then for some individuals, depending where they are in the company, they have to incorporate some additional things. It's creating that awareness and for them to understand of why and how these things can surface. In addition to that, we need to lock down with compliance. We need to lock down that certain things. There's a protocol. You are not under any circumstances going to act and send a wire transfer based on a phone call. In no circumstances. It's going to have to be another way of verifying this request,
Yep.
right? And that's going to have to be part of the protocol as well as any sort of, or even not just making wire transfers, even like say, depending on the type of company, what if you have some very sensitive places in your facility and the same thing can happen. Someone could be calling as a boss and say, we need urgently this visitor access pass to be issued to this individual. I mean, a wrong person in a very sensitive area can cause damage.
They can wreak havoc.
Or someone calling in and convincing somebody that they need to have their password username reset to gain access to a database. I mean, it's kind of like there's a number of different things that fall into the same thing. It's not just wire transfers. It's anybody taking on an action that, if fraudulent, could have dire consequences for that company. So we need to have those procedures, right? But we also need to rely upon AI tools to detect AI frauds, and that's already being worked on. I mean, and because there's people that talk about, this is how you can detect a deep fake image. This is how you can. What you should look for in a deep fake audio. I'm sorry, deep fake video. But those things are really, really going away. These little imperfections now they're producing these videos near perfect without any flaws, at least no flaws that are detectable to the human eye, right? Or voices that are detectable to the human ear. The only way to detect these is going to be, for absolute certainty, is going to be using AI tools. And there are some already software programs that are in the works being developed to be able to detect these things. And I think that's what's going to have to rely upon those as well.
You were in the CIA. What if somebody wanted to try and walk into Langley or some establishment? What were the good hygiene measures that were implemented to make sure that a visitor badge is not issued in an urgent basis, or there's some verification of who the hell is it that's walking through that front door?
Well, there's probably been a lot of enhancements since I left. I left in 2010. And I probably should talk too much about how,
whatever you can share. I know, just like common sense things that they do that everybody could have done.
Well, you have your standard access badges that are issued that are read when you're going through an electronic when you're going through the electronic reader, and those are verified as being, along with your picture. Those are credentials that are used. And you can only have that badge, of course, if you have a security clearance. So it's not like anybody can just walk in there with a badge. They can't obtain that badge unless they have a security clearance. Then there are individuals who can get in who are invited, right? Once again, they have to undergo a certain we call background check to ensure that they don't have a criminal record and things like this. They're not, they don't have to have a
calling the background check
guy. There you go. So they have these they have some of these protocols that a lot of the companies will as well. Before they can issue a pass for someone to come in, that individual inside the entity is going to have to put in a request to make sure that they're going to be escorted around the premises. They're only going to have access to a few pre-approved areas. So it's very secure in that area. Probably the cameras. I mean, I don't know. The cameras also, we have the capability now that the cameras can read facial recognition, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if everybody that goes into the facilities maybe have their face captured on facial recognition, and that could be a tool as far as who is authorizing who.
Well, I think they might need to go deeper than that. I mean, they might need to do the IR image and see what the blood flow looks like underneath, because that's hard to fake, right? The image stuff, I could build a nice mask. I mean, those masks are pretty good. I mean, we heard about the robberies out west where people look like the former presidents or some. I forget what how it went down, but facial recognition by itself may not be the.
Not anymore. Not anymore. I mean, I was just blown away a few years ago when I went to China and I saw how facial recognition was used there. But now, once again, fortunately, I guess China's going to have some of the same challenges as we do when it comes to these things. I mean, no one's got the silver bullet yet.
Well, maybe we'll all go back to the old way. You walk into an establishment, you hand them your ID, and you talk to them, and you know the people you're doing business with. What a novel concept that is. You know?
Yeah, but it's very difficult to go back to. Once again, most people say, I don't got time for this. This is a big problem for a lot of these companies, especially banks, credit unions. They don't, they want to have the safest, the best security in place, but at the same time, they're trying to balance it to not inconvenience the customer. Yeah. Being convenient, having a great, experience for the customer is like the number one thing. And unfortunately, sometimes security takes a back seat to this. It's unfortunate. This is all though part of the educational piece, right? Educating people inside the companies. You should also be doing a better job at educating the public. If the public really understood this problem, I think they would forego some of this, a great experience to, hey, I want to make sure that my financial assets are secure, my identity is secure. So I think we need to go a long way. And there's been a failing. I don't know where you would say what it's coming from, but for failing in educating the public on this.
Yeah, and the public is also highly complacent, right? I mean, you look at the average person, it's all about the convenience. I want the app, I want to transact, I want to do whatever it is, I want to do it now, right? Not 5 minutes from now. And that lack of patience is a perfect way to create compromisable processes. So,
I mean, we talk about, we were just even mentioning, we talked about on the show, I'm sure before, how easy it is just to lock down your credit.
Yeah.
It takes 10 minutes and it's easy. And it only takes you maybe 5 minutes to unfreeze it. If you want to request another credit line, but with locking it down, no one is going to be able to request additional credit lines in your name. I mean, it's incredibly simple, but yet so few people do it. Really, very few people do it. To me, it's just amazing.
Well, it's inconvenient because now when you go to buy a new phone or a new car, you won't be getting it on that day. You're going to have to sit and wait, and it's going to take a couple days to verify the credit.
I mean, you know what the problem might be? I'm thinking, I thought about this for a while. Not the problem, but it's a consideration. Insurance. People always go, I'm going to be covered. If something fraudulently happens with my credit card or whatever, the bank's going to take care of it. I'll get reimbursed. The banks and other organizations think, well, cybersecurity is important, but at the end of the day, I got insurance. It's always, I'm going to be covered if something happens to me, right? Someone's got my back. Not realizing that, hey, insurance companies also make profits, and the only way they make profits are increasing the premiums on all of us. So at the end of the day, who are we fooling, right?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to give a chance here. There's so many other questions I want to ask. But I want to talk about your book. Why Are You Messing With Me? And given that August is Senior Citizen Month, tell us a little bit about what was the impetus for this documentation and this story that you've put together in a great book.
Oh, thank you. My first book, Confessions of a CIA Spy: The Art of Human Hacking, it was written for everybody, but I thought the more of the use or market for the book interest was for organizations to understand these problems. And so I kind of using the methodology, walking through how a threat actor as a social engineer would target an organization and penetrate that organization. Because after all, I did that for 20 plus years when I was working for the CIA legally, and overseas not legally, but in the United States legally. So I thought that was a great resource for companies, and for those the companies would be training, right, their employees. But there's a certain demographic of our population that didn't have access to that set of information, guidance, and yet is the most vulnerable and victimized segment of the population when it comes to fraud, right? And that is we can talk about them as seniors, mature adults, elders, pretty much, our older population that is the prime target for fraudsters. We talk about, for that, a number of reasons, and also very susceptible for a number of reasons. So I decided, I don't know if you can see it well, but it's kind of similar to my first cover, but it shows the fraudster behind with a phone, in our digital world, and
someone with their hands in their head,
preying upon the elder person. So it's a senior survival guide on fraud, privacy, and security, right? So that's the focus of the book, but not just okay. I didn't want this. There's other books that are out there that talk about cybersecurity for seniors, and to me, it's not just. I didn't talk about cybersecurity. I talked about a lot of different things, including cyber, but within the realm of security. So, like, for example, in the first chapter, I talk about we're going from wealth, from trying to generate wealth all our lives to now trying to protect our wealth, right?
Wealth generation, wealth preservation.
Right. Working for 30, 40 years, and saving and saving and saving. It takes a long time, and you have this wealth. You're hoping to live out a good retirement, and then all of a sudden, the wrong decision, wrong mistake, because of something coming in that you were manipulated by, all of a sudden you lose a significant part, in some cases, your entire savings. And I've seen a lot of these cases. So it's focusing on how do I protect my wealth from it being taken away by somebody else. So I go through a number of different areas of security, and I initially talk about physical security. Okay. And even security in your home, because there have been cases where individuals have let in individuals into their homes, trusting that they are who they say they are, for them to rob them or even to kill them. Sorry about the term, but
wow,
yeah, there's people that have lost everything or have been seriously injured or even died because of not having necessarily best practices in place to protect them inside their home. Then I go to the next step. Well, how do you protect yourself when you're on the street? Right. And I give a lot of examples how even there's something called I don't know if you heard of it, jugging.
I don't know.
This is going on for a few years now, where seniors are especially targeted when they go to the bank or the credit union. A lot of them prefer to deal with cash than to use their credit card or so they go to the bank, pull out a couple $100 in cash, and then they maybe go back to their house or they go somewhere to use the cash to pay for something. So these criminals will be at the bank. They'll be either inside of the lobby or they'll be outside in their vehicle watching somebody go in and come out, or watching somebody go to the ATM machine and going out, and then they will follow them because they know this individual has the cash on them. They will follow that individual to their house, or even they'll follow the individual to their first place, because maybe they're going to a third area, and they will intercept them. Well, as soon as they park, they will intercept them and shake them down and take the money from them. Or even if they go inside, sometimes individuals will leave that envelope, on the console or on the seat next to them, and all it has to do is smash and grab. But there's a lot of issues regarding situational awareness, when you're on the street. Also, not just this juggling, which is becoming a common practice in some areas, but being able to assess your surroundings and how to protect yourself, which is good for everybody, but especially for seniors. Then we go into some of the other areas of concern: identity protection, and how to use. I don't talk about cybersecurity, but I talk about telephone. How to use the telephone. How to use the laptop. I mean, how are you approached by these criminals? What are some of the ploys that they're using? And it might be just to collect information, or it might be, most of the times, is getting that individual to provide them with money. Some of these scams are imposter scam. They will impersonate being somebody from the IRS or Social Security. Almost all of this is over the telephone,
and it's
right?
surprising that people still fall for that. I mean,
they will, but it's just that there's a couple of things. First of all, even though a lot of these organizations, entities will put out, we will not contact you by telephone. It will be in writing. And they do this. They put it out in writing that this is their practice. Don't trust these incoming phone calls. But seniors will, unfortunately, still trust. I guess it's two aspects here. One is fear. And the fraudsters will play upon fear to motivate someone to take an immediate action. There's a problem, and in order to solve it, you need to resolve it right now. If you wait, if you do not take care of this at this moment, it's going to become even a bigger problem. So, we can solve this by paying right now via credit card or what have you. So it's the fear factor. It's also that a lot of these individuals are, they're isolated. They're living in their homes. Some of them are living all by themselves. They welcome social interaction. And so when someone calls them up, it may seem, strange, but they welcome that interaction, And so they have, like, we might be hanging up the phone right away if we detect that it's something that's kind of weird and we're not interested in. We might not even answer the phone. Let it go to voicemail.
right.
But most seniors, they're gonna pick up that phone. And they're going to listen, and that individual is going to get their attention. They're going to know how to manipulate them to undertake this action. Actually, the number one scam this past year was the IT scam. I think you're probably aware of it. They're called by someone saying there's an issue with their Microsoft
computer
account.
Yeah.
And the computer has a virus, or we can take care of this right away. And so, right away, it's the fear. Oh my gosh! If I have this, I know nothing about technology. This guy can help me. He's
going to charge me $500 for it.
And even worse, you're charging that amount of money to fix it, but they probably penetrated your computer and downloaded more things that they can come back.
Got credit card information, or you've sent them Walmart gift cards, and they're in business now. That's a huge scam.
So the IT thing is big. Also, which is really big, and it kind of surprised me, with the romance scams.
Huh?
Because I thought the romance scams, kind of, especially when it comes to, the online dating and meeting people online, I thought that was more of a thing for, the younger generation or middle-aged individuals. But it's really, really common now amongst elderly, because once again, maybe their spouse has passed. Maybe they didn't get online right away, but a few years have passed. They're getting lonely. They get online. Maybe they're not actively looking for somebody, but there's predators out there. Then they will look at those Facebook accounts, and they will enter into a virtual relationship with that senior. And that senior, once again, is lonely, and this person will readily start speaking about how much they like this person, how much they love this person, and give this person hopes that maybe this could turn into a romance or getting married. They will, give them a scenario that they have 2 children, 3 children, and these children also, have needs. And so they'll slowly extract money from the elderly person, and the elderly person wants to help them out. They might even think it's a short-term financial need, right? And they keep on dragging this out little by little, asking for more and more and more money, where all of a sudden the seniors will be, putting on a second mortgage of their house, cashing in their life insurance policies to be able to send the money to these fraudsters. And it's kind of the same thing. These fraudsters will try to move them from whatever social media platform they were on to another secure channel, so they maybe on WhatsApp or whatever, another means to communicate, but they will never communicate to them live, like using their image, their video. They will only use pictures.
And
right?
that should be a clue.
Yeah, exactly. It really should be a clue. And but unfortunately, it's amazing. Even if the loved ones of that elderly person, say the children, they can see through it and say, "Wow, Mom, this is a serious scam. You know, we need to verify this person." The person that's in love just doesn't see it. This doesn't see it. How could that person do that to me? We're in love, you know? So even if someone tries to rationalize with them and it's, you know, someone they trust, these romance scams really gain hold of these persons, victimizes them to the point of, there's been cases where they've lost everything.
You know, it reminds me of an old adage, you know, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And people, just hearing you describe some of these things, a lot of things come to me is like, this can't be, this doesn't make any sense.
I mean, we talked earlier about those voice cloning, right? About how people can try to defraud an organization of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. This is also becoming very, very common now. We call these grandparent scams, meaning that the fraudsters will telephone the grandparent and then try to make the grandparent believe that their grandchild is in trouble. You know, maybe they've been kidnapped, maybe they're about to be arrested for a DUI or something, and they will even put the grandchild on the phone. Of course, it's not the grandchild. Grandchild doesn't even know what's going on. They're not even involved in this. But they'll put the grandchild on the phone, the voice of the grandchild, and they will have a very short conversation and sound distressed and beg for the grandparents' help. And so the grandparents looking right away, how can I take care of this? How can I help my grandchild? And, you know, you can talk about this. You can make the grandparents, you know, the individuals aware of this. But when it comes down to that instant, when all of a sudden they're just all taken in. I mean, I've seen these virtual kidnappings or distress going on for years in other parts of the world. But now when you can use the voice cloning aspect of that loved one, that becomes a very serious concern. So what I recommend is that families have this discussion, the entire family, siblings, with their grandparents, with their grandchildren, so that they can understand that these types of frauds can take place against any family member. Let's put in place a safe word, a word that we can use in a conversation to verify that this is real. This is a real issue that I'm dealing with right now. And if I don't come up with that word, that means it's fraudulent, right? It's a simple code word or simple phrase. Everybody agrees to it. And that's sort of our code that we use for our families. Not hard.
That's a great idea. And I hope the listeners take that back and they can implement this in their own. We're also at the hour, actually. So I wanted to give you a chance. Where can people get a copy of the book? Why Are You Messing With Me? Where is it available?
It's available. Easiest place to get it would be going on Amazon. All right. It's available in print and it's available in Kindle ebook. And eventually there's going to be an audio version.
Fantastic.
That's the easiest way to get it.
Well, Peter, it's been a pleasure having you. Don't be a stranger. Thanks for coming back and sharing your wealth of knowledge. I know we've only scratched the surface here. So
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. There's a lot more questions. We're going to have you back to continue the conversation.
Always happy to come back. And thank you for the opportunity. And for all you and all your listeners, stay safe. Verify, then trust.
Great last words. Take care.
You too. Thank you.